It's not just an ordinary Tuesday. Welcome to Terrier Tuesdays, the show where you can get to know some of Boston University's best and brightest student athletes.
Hello, Terriers out there. Welcome to a very special edition of Terrier Tuesday. My name is Gabe Sanders. I'm the director and head coach of cross country and track and field here at Boston University. And today joining me is Gemma Acheampong, who is a 2015 graduate of BU. Hello, Gemma.
Hello.
And not only is she a graduate of Boston University, but she also is and was a member of the 2016 Ghana Olympic team that competed at the Rio Games. Gemma, thank you so much for joining us today and joining me. Before we get started, I just want to, I'm going to, blow your head up a little bit, Gemma. So don't get too inflated. I don't want your head to get too big on the screen, but I want to let everyone know a little bit about you on the track as far as your accolades here at BU. So first of all, you in your senior year were named the female track athlete of the meet for both the indoor and outdoor Patriot League championships. And not only were you the 100 meter, 200 meter, 100 meter champion, but you also set a league record and school record in your final race as a Terrier, running 11:49. That's a lot of gold medals. That's a lot of gold medals. But the wild thing is, just before you and I were getting on the call, we were reminiscing about your time at BU. A lot of people don't always think of, the school record holders and the Olympians, they were always great. They were always phenomenal, right? But we were just saying how you were not just a walk-on on the team. You were someone where you knocked on my door when you were a freshman, and I was like, who are you? So, Gemma, let's just do a quick piece of how did you go from being who are you to an Olympian? Like, because what was your PR in high school? What, 12:39? Like, how did you even get into track?
Why are you saying these numbers out loud? I was average at best. Are those average numbers? I don't even know. I did not think so. Even in high school, I didn't really think about track at all, really. I joined because my friends had joined at the time. And it was even cross country. So I wasn't even sprinting or anything. It was just like a thing to do, like after school, just to fill and pad our college resumes. And then I remember doing indoor and being pretty good at like sprinting things. So like the 400, the 4x2, because that was an indoor thing for college.
Not running a lot, not doing cross country. I
mean, I did cross country and I was average. Like if you looked up the results from back then, I came in the middle, but I wasn't at the end. And I remember even cross country, I'd like run into the trees, walk a bit, jog a bit. Sometimes I make a friend. And then I sprint onto the track like I did it, sprinting. But then I remember going into, like at the end of high school, I was doing okay. I like made states somehow, like just doing whatever. I remember by that time, I was the only girl on the team. So it was basically just me and like the guys, and I would just train with them. And I made it to states somehow, not knowing how to use blocks or anything. So I was just like, this is cool. Interesting. But I didn't think about doing track at all after that, even at that point. So I remember like applying to colleges, choosing college. I chose BU, but just because I like BU, I like Boston.
Yeah. So track had nothing to do with it.
No, I didn't think about track at all. No. And I remember like even thinking like, nah. And then, but my high school coach, and then all these other coaches in high school were like, oh, wow, you made states. Like, shouldn't you like try and do this in college or whatever? And I was like, I don't know. I'm not good enough for college. And also, it seems too late. And I don't know. I don't care. And I remember being at orientation. Like, that's how long I put it off. I remember being at orientation. Yep. And I remember like talking to my orientation leader. And I was like, hey, I don't know. Maybe I should like try it out or talk to someone and see. Like, I mean, it can't hurt or whatever. So I remember even going in orientation, I had free time at one point, and she was like, hey, there's a computer right there. You can just go on the website, see what's there. And BU has this form, like you can send like a student thing in. And I remember sending it, and like you replied pretty quickly, like you or Coach Day maybe replied pretty quickly. And we're like, I mean, since you're already here on campus, like stop by, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. I don't think I literally said I guess, but that might have been the tone.
I was just like, I mean, stop by if you have free time. And I was like, okay. So I went down to the TTC, knocked on the door, and was like, hey, can I do something? And I remember like after that, you were like, I guess so. Sure, whatever. Come on. But I think for me, like I didn't realize it at the time, but now, like after going through all these years and like being at BU and then like helping to coach at BU and then going on to help coach in another school, like that's actually pretty rare for colleges to do, especially D1 college programs, to like to be open to a walk-on. Yeah. Even at that, like at any stage, like being open to a walk-on and then being open to one that like obviously like did not know or care about track as much as they probably should have at the time. But I think like that's something that I thought like really helped make BU like a really good team. Like you've had like other walk-ons, like David Oluwadar, like had other walk-ons come in and like become like amazing. And if we hadn't had these opportunities to go on these teams and have this coaching and really like work on things and see what we could have been, like it could have easily gone the other way where I never did anything attract, no Olympian, no anything. So to me, it's like a weird, like, it's both about like pursuing the opportunities you kind of have and it's kind of luck that comes with it. But I always think that luck comes from the opportunities you like seek out. Yeah. But I think like happening to like all these things happening, being able to do it at BU and having like these coaches that were willing to like take someone on who definitely wasn't in that kind of mindset or even in that place.
You weren't proven yet. Like we'll say you weren't proven yet.
And I was like an uncut diamond or something. Yeah. Like, where it was just like I had all these like skills, but you could, like if you just looked on paper, you wouldn't be able to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember just the fact that you came down and you were earnest about wanting to try out and give it a shot. And, you know, to your benefit, you know, we needed an extra 100-meter sprinter for the relay. And I said, you know, why not? Let's give it a try. And we plugged away. You got down to, you know, we got a little bit better, I think 12-2 that year, but you kept showing up. That was the thing. Like with all those hard times and those hard efforts, you just kept showing up and you were putting the time in and you were putting the purposeful time in and you were just a good person to have around. And it just kept coming back to you. You got better and better and better. And, you know, your real breakout race, right, was your junior year at the Patriot League meet when you ran it was 1160. And like literally the next day or two, you got a call from the Federation.
Yeah.
Like literally you got a call from the Ghanan Federation about joining in because they knew about your background. And 11.6 was like, I think, an all African Games time. And you ended up joining them, and it just kind of took off from there. And then fast forward 2 years later, you're in the Rio Olympic Games, you know? So along those lines, you know, you've already been an Olympian once. This year was supposed to be, you know, the Olympics 2020. In fact, this week was supposed to be the beginning of, you know, the Olympic Games. So, I mean, how are you feeling at this point? You know, what's your feeling on, you know, the lead up, the letdown, you know, what were some of your thoughts going into this year, you know, about what you were trying to accomplish with the Ghanan team?
Well, going into the year, I would say it'd be like January. So I was super excited. January was started indoor and I had a really good indoor season, like probably one of the best I've had in forever, probably. And in my opinion, where I basically came down to Boston like almost every weekend, took full advantage of the track, did really well. I really felt like I was primed to be in a really good position going into outdoor. And then things happened and there was no outdoor. But basically it all happened in both fast motion and slow motion, where it was slow in a sense, like every day it was like, well, who knows, but maybe. And then fast. and then one day we were all like at practice and suddenly everything was canceled. And then we just went home.
Like, that's it, guys.
Yep. It was really just like a slow, like, who knows what'll happen. And then in the course of an hour, it was like, oh, it's all over. Yeah. In the sense of the Olympics, I actually, for one, I saw it coming a long time ago. I think I have a kind of more, I don't know if pragmatic's the right word, but I'm very kind of more reasonable and logical. I can like kind of take my emotions out of things a lot easier. So I could easily see that it didn't make any sense for the Olympics to be happening. And I was actually more annoyed and frustrated at the IOC for taking so long to say anything about it. So because until they said something, I had to keep going like it was going to happen. So I had to like find a way in like, as everything was closing down, as people were saying, don't travel, don't do anything. I had to find a way. Like now I felt like I was doing something wrong by not being able to work out to my full ability anymore.
Yeah.
So instead of feeling like, okay, it's a good thing, I felt like, okay, now I'm trapped in this place. I can't work out. I'm like sucking and failing. And they keep telling me that they're somehow going to be in the Olympics somehow. Yeah. So now I feel like, okay, now they do somehow find a way to have the Olympics, because if they push through this somehow and say we're going to do it anyway, I'm not going to make it. There's no way, unless they change the qualification standards, which I thought was my only hope at the time, because there's no way I was going to make it on my ability, because there was going to be no ability by the time the Olympics came. Yeah. So for me, I was frustrated until they finally announced it was moved. Yeah. And when they said that, I was like, okay, fine. I will take a break. At that point, I had an injury or a slight injury or something that I was kind of powering through, because whatever, the Olympics are right there. Just power through and make it. Yeah. But at that point, I was like, okay, I can relax, heal up, which I did. And then like regroup and focus and see what happens. Like see how the schedule changes, see how qualification changes. The World Athletics Association decided that they're going to cancel like the qualification period up until December. Yep. So now if you did find meets and you were training, like, okay, you can do that, but also it's not going to penalize you. Yeah. If you decide to take the break and then regroup in like September or something, and then come back indoor and really like attack it at that point. So I was like, okay, I feel better mentally. Yeah. So now I just started like getting into things, starting my preseason stuff. And I think that's been interesting. This is my first time taking such a big break since like freshman year of college. Like I've never taken this long of a break. So now it's been like, oh, I see. I remember now. This is why I don't take long breaks. It's so hard to get back into shape. And this is why we're always telling kids like do stuff over the summer. Yep. I'm really trying to do that stuff over the summer so I can come back into preseason and not like feel super crappy. And it's been interesting and fun. And it's been like it's a new experience. I've definitely been learning to keep like my mental state like as top priority. And I think that's what a lot of athletes should be doing. I think I'm obviously lucky, and a lot of pro athletes are lucky, and they have this experience, all these years of experience to understand that it's really good to focus on what you can control, and like all those other things, like just like it doesn't matter. Just focus on what you can control and what you have, like what you can focus on. Yep. And obviously in this time period with the pandemic and everything, it's just that there's so much you can't control. Like who knows what's going to happen and whatever. And it's just like, I don't even think about that. Like, things are happening as they happen, and I'll take it in and process it. But at this moment, I'm like doing what I can with what I have. And I think that's basically how I'm looking at it. For the coming time, I'm like, I am still hoping to make it. I haven't qualified yet, and neither has our relay, but I have full faith that I still can do it.
Yeah. So, and that's a great way to look at it, is control the controllables. It's something my father always said, just control the four walls of your house and like, let everything fall where they may. Well, on a lighter subject, I know we're talking about Tokyo and how you're dealing with that. Bring us back 4 years ago to Rio and that experience. Like that must have been just phenomenal. I can remember tearing up seeing you on TV, walking out during the opening ceremonies and like seeing that bright look on your face. I couldn't believe I was able to spot you too. I'm really proud of myself I was able to do that. But, tell us a little bit about your experience back at Rio 4 years ago.
Probably it's like, it feels like both, like, even when it was happening, I was like, this is a dream. Like, this is weird. But I think like I had such a big lead up into it. Like even the story to get there, like I didn't make it individually. So we focused on the relay. Even at the time I was still kind of far off, and I was like, there's a chance, but the relay is like very close. So I did focus on the relay a lot. So I went to Ghana for like a month or something. And we like trained for that whole month, like at a camp, like a training camp. And training camps like sound fun to other athletes who've never been to a training camp, but it's the least amount of fun you can have having with track ever. You're literally like you're trapped in this place with these certain people just for the month. And then in Ghana, it is probably worse in Ghana, where you're like we're trapped in this like they had built a new stadium that year, so we were trapped in like this stadium they built in the middle of nowhere at this resort that like would lose power every now and then. So sometimes we're just sitting in the lobby, just staring into space, all of us. I brought books, finished reading all the books. We're all just staring there, like staring into space. Like, and then when you're trapped with these people, you start like getting annoyed about the littlest things. So now we're like starting to hate each other. We're just like,
no. So it's not like the NBA bubble. It's not like the NBA bubble that the players are in that they're complaining about sushi or Panera being delivered.
No, it's like the food was really good, but we're also just like nothing to do, staring into space. I remember one day we played tennis randomly, but basically we had that camp as a lead up to African Games. Yeah. African Championships, which was like African track championships. Yeah. Self-explanatory, but it was in South Africa that year. We went there and it was cold. So during everyone else's summer, South Africa is cold, and they knew this. And we were just like, why did you plan to have, like, why didn't you schedule this earlier so everyone came. So African championships are always scheduled kind of like right before the Olympic deadline because they match up in that way. So like for us, it's kind of like for African athletes, it's like literally like the last chance to qualify for the Olympics. Like this year, it was going to be, I think, a few days before the end of the qualification period. So if you haven't done it by then, this is your chance. This is your chance to like qualify. So we went, I think that year it was a week before or something, maybe 2 weeks. So we went there, we ran fine. We got like silver for the relay. But it was cold. We didn't have the time we needed. Earlier in like the month, I think we had run in Ghana. Here's more rules. For the relay, they changed the rules that year. They had just changed the rules that year. So you need to run with 2 other countries for your relay for it to count. And you have to get the average of 2 of your best times. So you can't run fast once. You have to run it twice and have that average and then get top 8 in the world or 16 in the world at the time. Mm-hmm. So the top 8 from world championships and then the next top 8 times. So we had gotten like a good time, gotten to like 17 or 18. So we're kind of just out there. So we needed one more time. So we went to South Africa, didn't get that time, feeling very defeated. I remember I had this huge breakdown on the plane. I was just like, because for one, we had already made the promise. We were like, we're going to do this in South Africa. We're all going to go home and have this break from each other, go home, see each other, have this fun. And we're like, oh, we had to go back to Ghana now and figure out a way to make this race happen because we need this time. So our federation president, like he went into overdrive. So like he got a meet together. He got the countries around us, Ivory Coast, which actually has some really good runners. Muriel Ahure and Marie Toulouse. They're very good. Like they were on their relay team. So we got Ivory Coast, Togo, Benin, I think. And he was like, it's all just come to our new stadium. Like we're all trying to get these times or whatever. Who cares? Like let's make it happen. Like, so the week that we were there, he like got all these teams together. We ran there and like, it was just great. It was one of those kind of like movie moments where we just have to do this. Like everyone just buckled down and do it.
Let's go.
So I remember we broke our national record there. I think we got our time. Ivory Coast also broke their national record, I think at the time too. I also ran like, I think a PR in the 100 that same day. It was basically one of those things where it's just like, finally we did it. Everything's great. And then we went home and like, we were able to go back to, I came back to the US and took a break before the Rio Olympics or whatever. So
it's nice you had the games were all the more satisfying because of the story that led up to it.
Yeah, It was like an amazing, like huge effort. Like because even before, so like a lot of athletes, like one of my senior athletes, Flings, she had been like training for the Olympics for 4 years. Like as many athletes do, like 4 years beforehand, they're like, I want to go to this next Olympics. So they train super hard for this 4 years. But for me, like 4 years ago, I didn't think about, I wasn't even on the team at the time. I didn't think about the Ghanaian team. I didn't think about the Olympics or anything. Yeah. So for me, like it really was a kind of a thing like in that 2 years beforehand at the Commonwealth Games where I was just like, oh yeah, that's something I could try and do, I think. And even then I was just like, I mean, it is something possible.
Yeah.
So then even that summer basically was really me like getting hyped up and feeling these highs and lows really quickly and then suddenly like, oh, this is happening. Wow, this is cool. Like it felt like everything was just coming at me suddenly. And I was like, this is great. So then I went to the Rio, really struggled to get there. I've got our ticket super last minute. So it was really a struggle to get there. But once I landed, I was like, I'm here. Everything doesn't matter anymore. And being in the village really like, it's both an amazing feeling and also like an everyday feeling, because in that village, like everyone is an Olympian. Most people. I mean, there are like trainers and coaches and whatever and all that stuff. But like in general, everyone is an Olympian. So you kind of feel like, oh, this is like a normal everyday thing. Like it feels like this, like you feel like this is cool. And being at the Olympics, the opening ceremony, I was like, this is amazing. And people would like send pictures and be like, I saw you. But like in those moments, you're just like, this is fun and this is cool. And like seeing, like, I saw like all the American gymnasts. I saw Venus Serena. I saw like Federer and like all these tennis people. Like you see them just randomly at the Olympics everywhere. And the village everywhere. And then like everyone would go to McDonald's because the dining house was getting old and McDonald's was free. Like they're just like, you can just go in and order. So like there's always a huge line for McDonald's. So it was just really, it was both fun and surreal. And one of those things where like, it didn't really hit me until afterward when I left and I was like, oh yeah, not everyone is an Olympian and not everyone is doing this. And this was an amazing like experience and an amazing feeling. And like, it was at that, like coming back and feeling that feeling and having it sink in where I was really just like, okay, these next 4 years, I really want to go to Tokyo. Like, because they started planning, like when you're there and they announced it, like, we're going to, remember guys, we're going to Tokyo. And I was like, Tokyo? I thought this was fun. They're going to have like robots and self-driving cars and like the most high-tech everything. I have to go to Tokyo. Like that's going to be the pinnacle of an experience. So like for me, like I think while Rio was really fun and cool, I really think like Tokyo will be like the best kind of experience for me, because not only will I understand like what it took to get, like it'll actually take me the whole 4 years of like, since the beginning, I've really thought like I'm every step of the way, I'm trying to get here. And I really understand, like, I don't know, I really feel like that'll be the pinnacle of like putting my all into it. Like this will be my first time, like really like sacrificing 4 years of time, sacrificing like 4 years of effort and everything, and just feeling like this is what I'm getting out of it. And really like, and I feel like in the past 4 years that I've like gotten to this point, I've really learned to enjoy like the sport. Like the first 2 years I was like, this is hard work and whatever. But like the last 2 years, I really think I felt like I've learned to have fun at meets and really enjoy like the travel, the meet, the people. And I really think that it'll all culminate really well if I can get to this Olympics, which I'm trying to.
I love it. I like it. That's awesome, Gemma. Like I got chills just thinking about that. Just like you're saying, that surreal moment afterwards of, oh, wow, I did that. You know, it's almost like you say, you know, you enjoy the process, so the goal is that much sweeter. But even after the goal is accomplished, you look back to the process, right? And you enjoy it all the much more than the goal itself. So that's so awesome to hear. That's so awesome to hear about. And I'm sure you've just inspired a whole new generation of future Olympians and hopefully future Terriers and current Terriers to aspire to those dreams. So Gemma, I really appreciate you joining us today and sharing so much of yourself and your experiences with us. This is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun for me reminiscing on our times together, you know, and to say I was a part of the journey, you know, and I wish you the best of luck over the next 12 months, you know, hopefully when you're actually able to finish out the 4 years, going on 5 now for that dream.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I really I do look back on that time and I think about all these small things that if they didn't happen, I wouldn't have got, like, even joining the Ghana team. I remember being like iffy about it because I never heard of them having the track team.
Yeah.
I remember literally talking to you and being like, is this a good idea? Like, and you were like, what could it hurt?
Yeah.
Like, look at this. And I was like, I mean, okay. And then I went to the Commonwealth Games and had a blast. And I was like, oh, okay. This is a real thing.
Yep.
So like all these small moments, I really feel like you don't really understand what kind of impact it'll have in your life. And I really think taking the chance really does make a difference.
For sure, for sure. Well, that's awesome, Jim. Well, again, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being an amazing steward for BU athletics and Boston University as a whole. And we all continue to look forward to your journey ahead, okay?
Thanks for having me, and thanks to everyone. And I hope that story was good.
Oh, it was fantastic. And thanks everybody else out there. And go Terriers, right?
Go Terriers.
Thanks for tuning in to Terrier Tuesdays. Give us a follow on our social media accounts at BU Athletics on Twitter and Instagram for more content.